What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review the debut product by Evanescence. Basically, this product is called self-titled Evanescence, and it came out in the winter of 1999. So the thing about this particular product here is this particular mix, or this particular album was limited to about 100 copies at some of their shows as far as those first going to happen. It sold out pretty quickly within the pitch behind it, but this is kind of a collector's item within the pitch. Makes me question the prices of it nowadays within the fare behind it. Good type fashion. Now look after the distribution, just like the Origin album I reviewed not too long ago. It's within the same type fashion about that particular album as far as what's first gonna happen. These are definitely some pretty ballistic type products to be able to get here within the pitch behind it. And I look after like the tone behind it. Basically, this particular album has like a certain kind of gothicness about it compared to Origin from the year 2000, which was a little bit more cretinous within the pitch as far as the aspect of what it particularly delivered upon. Is the more kind of just more frenetic typeness, kind of similar. I mean, it was starting to ramp up like the commercial type fashion. But I look after this particular one, and this is more kind of not necessarily down to earth, but this has a very kind of gothic and churchy-ishness. Evanescence for 1999 has very gothic and churchy-ishness about it within the fare behind it. This particular aspects of something out of like something within the aspects of out of like the movie Van, something out of like Transylvania and movies like Van Helsing, some of those type pitches is very much like Romania and some of those type places that just has a certain aspect that just feels more of like kind of like cathedral like within the pitch. And I really like the aspect as far as being able to nail that within the particular tone, but this is very morbid and comatose. I look after more so than other Evanescence products I listen to. They spruced up a lot more. I mean, I definitely feel like Amy Lee and the rest of the band. Amy Lee is definitely a good scream queen within the aspects as far as those fairs going to happen. She had the aspect of just being able to deliver upon, like getting some commercial aspects and making that kind of more mainstream with the pitch. She was always Evanescence and Amy Lee always had the flair of being able to make gothic stuff more mainstream within the pitch behind us. That started to happen with albums like Fallen and some of those particular type of appeals, some of those haunting type ones. But within the pitch behind it, this just has a lot. This just feels like a flatline type product, just within the tone behind this. The moroseness and morbidness of this product is a little bit higher within the pitch behind. But I definitely like the fact because this is just more, this is less commercial bound and a little bit less radio ready, but it has the appeal of being able to nail these moments. It's like the initial aspects of seeing what they were about, just in the sense of less public relations, because it felt like I want to say I'm not sure if they were signed to labels. Since the distributor was Bigwig Enterprises, as far as those pitches can have them, but I question the concept of whether or not how big the distribution was because it only had 100 copies. Not to say like there's a problem with that, but it's just kind of within the pitch. The album cover looks terrific. So it's a good aspect. This is a very gothic type one within the pitch. Just aspects that way back in 1998, 1999, this is ahead of the time as far as this fair is going to happen because there wasn't a ton of stuff that was particularly going on around this time. I just look after within the pitch, folks were still kind of on like the tip of more things like Smash Mouth and Creed. Folks were more kind of on the tip of like folks like Smash Mouth and Creed and Limp Bizkit and some of those particular type folks within the pitch behind it, the sort of stuff that was popping like the late 90s. But this definitely carved out like a lane and had a sound that was particularly pretty trend setting within the pitch. That just was before things like emo and goth and some of those type pitches were before things like emo and goth and some of those type pitches were particularly kind of more mainstream, more of like household names as far as what's first gonna happen. Now, I think that was somewhat arisen around 1999, late 98 or so within those pitches, but I just look within the aspect, it's definitely something that was kind of ahead of things within the pitch behind as far as what's first gonna happen. Just impacted things. Big deal in like the 2000s. Once again, if you didn't know, like Fallen by Evanescence from 2003 went like 6 or 7 times platinum. So that was a huge deal throughout the 2000s. One of the best selling albums of that decade. But I look after it was within the pitch that this was some good stuff. That it was pretty. This particular product is definitely pretty poignant to be able to have that particular skill set. So it's good type tone for that. So it's another EP that's going to get a classic score. Another class. It's another project by Evanescence that's going to get a classic score. Basically, there's 6 songs on this particular product, and I recommend all 6 within the fairs. The only song I don't recommend in any fashion is just the song "The End," which basically the particular fair about that was kind of a gothic type one within a sense, but just didn't nail the appeal as much. It was just kind of more vocals within the pitch behind it. Just kind of the etherealness just didn't hit. The normal shrillness of that particular song was just not as hitting full bound within the pitch, but I'm not going to match the score because it's not as really as full much of a song. I would have liked the aspect of that one more. I would have liked the aspect of that one more, but just didn't connect as much as full bound. But still, classic score. EP gets a 10 out of 10. So just to be able to say about this product, there is some contemporary moments on here. Like I said, this is a very flatline type product within the aspect of this delivery on it. Now, there's some songs that have showed up on albums by Evanescence, like Fallen and Origin, some of those particular type pitches, particularly 2 songs, which I'm going to leave off this side. I'm still going to talk about these songs with like with basic kind of halfway descriptions, but it's kind of the concept that both the songs "Where Will You Go" and "Imaginary" are also on either Fallen or Origin. So it's within the pitch. I've talked about these songs in the past, but it's just kind of within the tone. At least "Imaginary" and "Where Will You Go" are on the album Origins. It's within the pitch. I talked about these recently, but they are different. I will say within the concept. That's why I'm talking about them again, because they are different. Particularly "Where Will You Go" is like a nice morose kind of organ day fair as far as this pitch can happen by organ. I mean the concept of like something you'd hear in like a gospel like church, something within that particular gothic like church within the pitch, something like Romania, places like that, some of that more typical type fashion, just more kind of vampiric, I'd have to say. More vampiric, I'd have to say. This is kind of an out in the wind kind of doomsday as far as this pitch kind of happens. So this one's kind of a little bit contemporary within the sense it's kind of some venue type noises with this is kind of some venue type noises in a more shrill type sense. So the concept behind this project is a lot more brooding within the sense behind it. There's a number of songs on here like Exodus is pretty ruffled within the pitch. Solitude is definitely some pretty ruffled type day fair within the pitch. Very slag type one within the aspect behind it. Just the morbidness on this project is at a real extreme high on this particular project. Just like the aspect behind it as far as those fairs can happen. Just like there's a little bit more kind of frolic. There's a little bit more frolic and jubilance on like the Fallen album, just a little bit more in like a Scream Queen type fashion, something that you would have probably caught on like VH1 and places like that as far as those fairs going to happen. It's a little bit more gothic and places like VH1, some of those type places contemporary within the sense. And I also feel like the haunting kind of Cretinous type appeal of like Origin with some good aspects as well as far as like the concept of just like kind of just more like demonic kind of step out within the picture, just like the aspect, just like some kind of initial kind of freneticness is kind of more spiffy within a sense as far as something of just like kind of stunting to have like some Thursday Friday type fair. But within the fashion, just within the concept as far as this particular, this is just kind of the product of like day type fair. It's an interesting aspect because a lot of this particular product is not as night basis in the concept, it's not as venue bound, just stuff like that. This particular product is not as venue bound. It's a little bit more makeshift within the sense behind it. It's typical kind of summer romps within some of those type fairs, just not within the aspect of more kind of dance venues and pitches like that. Just dance club, disco lights, some of those type fairs within the aspect of more rave and kind of nightclub step out within pitches. Just some good nice ones here, but I feel like at least Where Will You Go, I feel like Where Will You Go is some great venue noise and like a haunting sense. That's a good aspect. Imaginary is another nice one that's appeared also as like some gothic day drifting and like a rainy kind of typical dredge about it within the fair behind it. Just some vintage Evanescence within the aspects here. This is a popular song. This is also on the Fallen album, not just the Origin album, but the Fallen album. And on the Fallen album, it's a little bit more piano ballad like, a little bit more haunting. On the Origin album, it's just a little bit more imaginary. On the Origin album, it's just a little bit more militant within the senses within the pitch as far as saying within the tone of like kind of more gothic ramp up within the aspect, just being a little bit more driven and just kind of the aspect of just kind of having like some good imaginary. On the Origin albums, just a little bit more militant within the sense it's more gothic and demonic driven within the pitch behind it. Just kind of a step out of just getting towards in like a more productive kind of gothic type sense within the aspect, just in a darker type tone within the aspect, just some grim type flair about it. But within the pitch, this particular one is kind of in a more rainy type day, just typical kind of dredge. It's something that just feels like something of like a more makeshift type push, kind of similar to songs like Solitude, I'd had to say, and So Close, some of those particular type ones. This kind of aspect of me. I like the particular fair about it, just really type one that just definitely the originality factor is pretty high on this particular song. I mean, it's a repeat song within the pitch, but it definitely nails the appeal as far as being able to do it. There's three different versions of this particular product, and I feel like there's three different versions of the song Imaginary as far as those fairs going to happen. This one's a little bit more workaday within a sense. It's typical type dredge within the aspect behind it is typical type fashion. And once things are just kind of the task of standard push within the aspect of just errand running pitches like that, just target kind of this target and kind of Aaron's commerce within the pitch behind it. But I look after here, so it's good aspects. It's good aspects for some of that. So I look within the tone of the particular songs I recommend on here. So simple enough to kind of say this EP gets a 10 out of 10 just in the pitch behind it. But some of these type of songs on here are a good favorable song off this particular product is Solitude. It's definitely like some summer day malaise that I'd say. Just a gothic kind of hot day within the pitch behind it as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just kind of some sullen kind of light licked activity. I feel like here just smoke some. I definitely feel like within the pitch behind it, this song that stretches pretty well. So this is an aspect as far as saying this is another real morbid type one within the pitch as far as those aspects can happen. Just like the overall gothicness, it's like the overall strickenness of this particular product just has the anguish within the particular fair about it. Just nails the particular aspect to something that feels. And this is kind of the concept of being like a summery type song. Typically, Evanescence is not as summer oriented within the pitch. It's something that feels like a picnic song, something of that particular type fair, just out and about within like the day fair, like light activities, stuff within that particular product of it. Not as much going to dance venue or pitches like that, really getting tore up liquor everywhere, house party kegs, that sort of pitch, but just kind of the concept of like typical kind of usual frolic within the pitch behind it. It's just something summer oriented, just with the like Solitude is just summer oriented with like Gab's anguish as far as those pairs gonna have. So it's just typical type pitch for some of that step out, just in the aspect, just emo type, basically emo type music to a T as far as those pitches can have. Just excellent type fire to be able to nail that particular aspect. Very stylish within the pitch. Very stylish within the pitch. So Close is a nice one here. It's a very Creed-like kind of post-grunge ponder, I'd say, within those pitches. Very similar to Creed and Nickelback, some of those particular type folks that would kind of do those rainy kind of after effected day slog type tunes within the pitch. It's like a typical goth kind of workaday sludge, I'd have to say, or it's like a typical goth kind of workaday sludge, I'd have to say here within the pitch behind it. Just some productive kind of air and fair within the pitch as far as those fares going to happen. So just the aspect like that. Typical type commerce, very similar like the song Imaginary, like I was saying here, same sort of 1-2 punch that kind of goes along with that. Just the pitches, some step out, just in the fares, just like the particular aspect. It is kind of within the usual push. It's kind of something that is kind of interesting to get some gothic type makeshift within the pitch, because for the most part, I cannot think for but when you think of like post grunge within those particular type fairs, it was not commonly as much popping up. I mean, I'd say 1998 was where it was starting to kind of stretch out into some of those type pitches as Nickelback and some of those type folks. Creed, as folks like Creed and Nickelback were starting to have some of their aspects of developing more within the full blown type fair. But just within the pitch, as far as saying that some of this makeshift type fair was a good lane to have carved out within the fair, as far as that particularly kind of went along with this. So it's a good type pitch for that. Just look at the aspect, just a workaday type one with the usual alternative type dredge about it. So it's just good type style. I want to say this is before like stores like Hot Topic. I don't know if Hot Topic was around back in 98, 99 as full blown within the fair behind it. Might have been, but it's within the pitch of these initial kind of like initial kind of train track and just kind of more melding of like how alternative was. It's kind of melding of like workaday kind of alternative within the pitch behind it. So it's a good type aspect. I mean, he did have Smashing Pumpkins and folks like that some back in 94, but within the pitch of just more boominess is a good aspect to kind of have just original sounds that work pretty heavily. Exodus is a nice one. It's like a ruffled day kind of makeshift, I'd have to say here. Just nice goth, kind of typical dredge, I'd say about this one. Just kind of original flavor, good standout, I'd feel like about this particular song, some comic fun about it. This is kind of the pitch as far as that particular goes. It's kind of one that's just typical kind of emo brooding as far as this pitch can happen, just within the tone of dislike. Got a little bit more frenetic and paranoia about it, just from the pitch behind it. Just a little bit more dismantled compared to some of these other type ones. Most of this is just kind of brooding within a sense of just like that commerce just in the pitch behind it. It's like I really like the anguish of the song Solitude. It's a really affable type one. I like the kind of out and about type one was so close. And it's the same thing with Imaginary as far as what's first going to happen. But then I look after with Exodus. It's just kind of the pitch as far as saying this is just kind of one where it's just kind of maybe bad hair day type pitch, or just like a day where it's just kind of annoying within the pitch as far as those fair's gonna have. So it's just from the tone about that, but it's just one. A lot of this does have some pretty good makeshift drifting about it within the tone, but it's just kind of the aspect as far as nailing some of these, just within the flair behind it. Just more kind of more neighborhood and residential type activity within the fair as far as to how a lot of these kind of go. But then Understanding is a nice one as well. This is like a simmering kind of night song. Understanding is a lengthier one. It's over 7 minutes, but it's still a nice one. It's like a simmering kind of summer night sludge, kind of getting like an alternative sense that I'd say here to some kind of some emo music. Early Bird, I'd have to say about this one. Another one with some pain as far as those pitch kind of have. So it's good type tone for some of these. It's kind of an after effect. This one's just a little bit more of like night drifting within a sense compared to most of this album kind of being more amidst like the daytime, either with songs like with Solitude and Imaginary and So Close, some of those type ones, and then with a little bit more of like the busybody type fashion of Exodus. That's kind of like that as well. Exodus is more like seemingly like 5:30, 6:15 pitches like that, this evening type fare. But this is one that feels kind of more just amidst like the night sludge of it, just in the aspect. Just some cathedral like kind of night ambience within the flare behind as far as those pitch kind of having just kind of some drifting kind of do within like the product of night errands and some of those type fares, just in more balanced type sense. Kind of just a little bit more kind of like the song says, understand a little bit more ambient within the pitch, of just more comfy type. I mean, it still feels anguish within the pitch behind, but just a little bit more comfy, a little bit more comfy within the pitch compared to Exodus, kind of more ruffledness. So it's within the fair as far as those pitch can happen. But yeah, basically this EP gets a 10 out of 10 within those pitches behind it. The social score I'll probably give, that's kind of tricky here. I would probably say maybe like a 9.5 out of 10. Just say the social score would get like a 9.5 out of 10 just because the availability behind is not as full blown within the pitch. I mean, I would say I would have to think. I mean, it would seem like I would almost question if the band would not have a problem with you downloading these songs as far as those fairs going to happen. I want to say in the past, like it has said on Wikipedia, that Amy Lee and the band had probably said that it's okay to download songs off of Origin as far as those fairs going to happen instead of paying exorbitant prices for some of these items. The chances are the prices are going to be jacked up pretty high as far as those pitch going to happen with some of these collector's items within the pitch behind it. But I would have to say just in the fair, if it really is that simple to just download these songs in the pitch, I just would recommend doing that. And I'd probably say the social score would be a 10 out of 10 because there's just some good aspects here. Like I said, this is a flatline type type product within the pitch behind it. Just the morbidness, it's real gothic on here, just cathedral type music. This works for that particular type fare. Just being immersed like the lifestyle movies like Underworld and Gothica and some of those type pitches. Just early alternative, early bird within the pitch as far as those particular aspects can happen. Just a good, nice one that just had a lane that was before things had kind of fleshed out that way back in 1998, 99. Just 1998 and early 99 within the pitch. So it's a good type fare. In terms of future, like Evanescence is supposedly working on some stuff. They got some products that they're working on in 2025 within pitches like that. I have at least one more Evanescence EP that I'm going to get to after this particular one. And then I'd have to say I might also review Mystery. It's kind of a strange way of spelling it. It's Mystery with an A instead of Mystery with an E. But I look within the tone as far as saying Mystery from 2003. I might review that one if it has some new stuff on there. If it doesn't, I'll just review Sound Asleep. But there's at least one more Evanescence product. There might be two within some of those I pitched. But this is a gothic highlight just in the fair behind it. Really nailed some aspects on here pretty blisteringly. Just had the aspect of being able to nail within the flare behind it. Real nice morbid type product that hits on a lot of real nice morbid type product that hits on a lot of cylinders and just has a lot of particular just gothic and just overall compelling appeal.